And it's called argument from ignorance. And this is how it goes. You ready? Somebody sees lights flashing in the sky. They've never seen it before. They don't understand what it is. They say, a UFO. The U stands for unidentified. So they say, I don't know what it is. It must be aliens from outer space visiting from another planet. Well, if you don't know what it is, that's where your conversation should stop. You don't then say, it must be anything. Okay? That's what argument from ignorance is. It's common. I'm not blaming anybody. Psychologists know all about it, and it may relate to our burning need to have to know stuff because we're uncomfortable, steeped in ignorance. You can't be a scientist if you're uncomfortable with ignorance, because we live at the boundary between what is known and unknown in the universe.
The problem is that you've accepted an answer without sufficient evidence, and you're willing to be wrong about it while running around thinking you're right, and that makes you an idiot. That means that you don't care about what's actually true. You care about assuaging your discomfort with not knowing. You are so uncomfortable by not having an answer that you're willing to latch on to whatever seems most intuitively reasonable to you and comforts you. And that's not a pathway to truth at all.
The public, it appears, seems to have this burning need to have an answer to what is unknown. And so you go from an abject statement of ignorance to an abject statement of certainty.
One thing is, I can live with doubt and uncertainty and not knowing. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong. I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of certainty about different things, but I'm not absolutely sure of anything, and then many things I don't know anything about.
But difficult to comprehend is different than existence. That's what's wonderful about physics, is that things that were difficult to comprehend happen. And we've been able to comprehend them. There may be ultimately things we'll never comprehend. I don't expect, I'm one of the people, I don't think we'll ever have a theory of everything. I would be amazed if we did. And I think that's the wonder and beauty of science. The mystery is what makes life worth living. And so, absolutely, I can't comprehend the words you're using. I can't comprehend mathematically, or because I don't. If I could, I'd write it down in a physics paper. And so, you're absolutely right. These are issues we don't understand, but they don't take away from the remarkable fact that it used to be that life was a miracle and had to demonstrate something beyond the laws of nature. Happily, Darwin got rid of that. And I would argue that physics is getting closer to the point of saying, at least to understand how our universe got into existence, we don't have to posit anything supernatural.
What you do? I'm not saying we haven't been visited. I'm saying the evidence thus far brought forth does not satisfy the standards of evidence that any scientist would require for any other claim that you're going to walk into the lab with.
Do not pretend that what you're doing is even remotely comparable to science. Science doesn't just latch on to whatever feels good and then hopes maybe later on we'll find the truth. Science gives explanations and doesn't assert absolute certainty at any point. And what they do is they give the best explanation that is supported by evidence, that is subject to peer review. They build models that actually make testable predictions that prove useful. You're not doing anything remotely like that. And the fact that you have deluded yourself to thinking that science does this too is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You not only don't care whether or not something's true, you have poisoned your own mind to the extent that you have no pathway to understanding how to find out if something's true. And the one thing that can be used to get us as close as possible to a true understanding, you denigrate it to being the equivalent of the asinine guesswork burden shifting thing that you've just engaged in.
Striking is the enormous, remarkable capability of virtually every small child for learning. They start out eager, intellectually wide-eyed, asking extremely clever questions about the world. And then something happens, by and large, to discourage them. And I think it's a tremendous waste of natural resources. For example, a kid asks, Mommy, why is the grass green? And very often you get an answer like, oh, don't ask dumb questions, or who knows, when in fact it's an extremely profound question. And how much better would it be?
Why is the sky blue, or anything like that?
In both those cases, it goes to the fundamentals, in one case of biology, and the other of a kind of physics. How much better it would be to say to the child, that's a good question, Johnny. I don't know the answer. Maybe we can look it up. Or nobody knows. Maybe when you grow up, you'll be the person to find out. I think kids who are discouraged from asking those questions wind up learning the lesson that there's something bad about using the mind, and we lose resources. And we need those intellectual resources because we are in very perilous times. And I think the complex and subtle problems that we face can only have complex and subtle solutions. And we need people able to think complex and subtle thoughts. And I believe a great many children have that capability if only they're encouraged.
Yeah, because kids are born scientists. They're always turning over rocks and plucking petals off of flowers. They're always doing things that by and large are destructive. And no, that's what exploration kind of is. If you take stuff apart, whether or not you know how to put it back together. This is what kids do. An adult scientist is a kid who never grew up. That's what an adult scientist does. So what happens at home is the kid reaches in the refrigerator, pulls out an egg, and starts juggling it. What's the first thing you do as a parent? Stop playing with the egg. It could break. Put it back. Excuse me, this is an experiment in the material strength of let the kid find out that when it drops, it breaks. This is a physics experiment rapidly turned into a biology experiment, okay? The yolk oozes out. You say, hey, that becomes a chickie one day, okay? Wait, how does this gooey yolk become a chicken? Well, that's biology. Check that out. And what did the egg cost you? 20 cents? President of Harvard once said, if you think education is expensive, you should try the cost of ignorance. So we don't have enough parents who understand or know how to value the inquisitive nature of their own kids because they want to keep order in their household. Kids go into the kitchen and pull out all the pots and pans and start banging on them. What's the first thing you say as a parent? Stop making all that noise. Stop the racket. You're getting the pots and pans dirty. You just squashed an entire experiment in acoustics. So, I'm not worried about kids. People say, what can I do to get my kids interested in science? They're already interested in science. You're the one who's the problem. So, almost my entire professional energy is focused on adults because they outnumber kids. They vote, they run the world, they wield opportunities. Kids will be fine. Where we are, where we came from, and where we're going. And those questions are answered from space. To know how Earth got here, how the sun got here, what the future of Earth will be, what the future of our sun will be. Will we need to leave Earth and find another planet? All of that comes to us from the discoveries of a space program. Much of those discoveries have come from NASA. So it's not that the universe would be different if NASA never existed. It's that we would be different in a way that I don't even want to think about.